There are moments when the world goes strangely quiet around you, and in that quiet you feel an urgent pull to do one small thing you've been postponing. Send the message, apologize, step away from the sin, stand up for yourself, pray even though you feel empty, and it feels like a door is open right now, but it won't stay open. Not because Allah is cruel, but because life is timed, hearts are timed, and opportunities arrive with a weight you can almost hear. You don't always get a warning sign. Sometimes you just feel it in your chest. Do not skip this moment. The test isn't always about something dramatic. It's about whether you recognize the mercy hidden inside the urgency. And if you're listening closely, you already know what your 10 seconds looks like. The tension comes from how easily your mind can twist that urgency into the fear or superstition. You start thinking, if I miss this, I'm finished, or if I take this step, everything will collapse. But a believer's heart is not meant to be a prison of panic. It's meant to be a place where you learn sabr without freezing, tawakkul without becoming careless. Allah doesn't demand perfection from you, He demands sincerity, and sincerity often appears as a choice made in discomfort. The door that closes is not the door of Allah's mercy, because that door stays open as long as your breath stays with you. The door that closes is the window of clarity, the moment when the truth is obvious before your ego returns to negotiate with it. Some tests are not about suffering. They're about speed, how quickly you obey the good you recognize before you talk yourself out of it. A lot of people assume that if Allah is pleased with them, life should look smooth. So when resistance shows up, delays, misunderstandings, sudden loneliness, they take it as a sign they are doing something wrong. But sometimes the resistance is the sign you are finally walking in a direction that matters. The heart knows when it is leaving old patterns, and old patterns don't let go politely. They whisper, rest a little longer, delay it one more day. You can make tawbah later, until later becomes a habit. That is why some openings feel sharp, almost like a countdown. If this is landing in a way that feels uncomfortably accurate, you can quietly like the video so it reaches others who are standing in the same tense doorway, trying to decide whether to move or to numb themselves again. Now, look at two reactions that happen in the same situation. One person feels that inner pull and immediately tries to soothe it with distractions. They scroll, they snack, they argue, they sleep, they stay busy, anything to avoid the silence where Allah's reminder is waiting. The other person feels the same pull and doesn't romanticize it, doesn't announce it, doesn't make it into a personality. They simply act, they make wudu, they lower their gaze, they close the tab, they speak the truth gently, they cut off the conversation that keeps them in sin. They ask forgiveness, even though their pride burns. Both people will tell you they were tired, both will say they had reasons, but only one is using their tiredness as an offering to Allah instead of an excuse. The difference isn't talent or intelligence, it's spiritual discipline in the moment when the nafs starts bargaining. Here is the counterexample that keeps you grounded. Not every urgent feeling is a divine signal. Sometimes it's anxiety, sometimes it's impulsiveness, sometimes it's a wound that wants control. That's why people who chase every emotional surge end up exhausted, constantly starting over, constantly convinced that Allah is sending them signs while their life becomes chaotic. The chosen path is quieter than that. It's not about chasing adrenaline. It's about recognizing patterns, the call toward prayer, the call toward honesty, the call toward patience, the call toward leaving what you already know is harming you. If an urgent feeling pulls you toward arrogance, cruelty, obsession, or breaking someone unjustly, that is not a door from Allah. A believer checks their heart against what Allah loves: mercy, justice, humility, restraint. Real guidance does not make you feel superior. It makes you feel responsible. It doesn't inflate you, it steadies you. Picture a scene that doesn't look spiritual on the outside. It's late, your phone lights up, and it's a message that could pull you back into something you finally escaped. Or you're standing in a grocery store line, and you overhear a conversation that tempts you to join in backbiting. and your tongue is ready because it would feel good to be included. Or you're alone in your room, tired, and you know exactly which habit will numb your sadness for 10 minutes and leave you emptier for 10 days. In those moments, nobody is watching, and that's the point. The unseen is where you are shaped. The door is the small chance to do a quiet act of obedience that will never trend, never get applauded, but will be written. You don't need a thunderbolt. You need the courage to disappoint your lower self for the sake of Allah and to accept that loneliness can be protection, not punishment. Hidden enemies don't always look like villains. Sometimes they look like friends who love the version of you that stays stuck. Sometimes they look like family who mean well, but can't stand the idea of you changing because your change exposes their comfort. Sometimes the enemy is a voice inside you repeating old labels. You always fail. You're not consistent. You're too far gone. The attack is subtle. It pushes you toward delay, not toward open disbelief. Shaitan rarely needs you to reject Allah outright. He just needs you to keep postponing the one step that would shift your life. And the more you delay, the more you start calling delay being realistic. That's why the believer learns to move when the path is clear, even if the emotions are messy. If you've experienced that quiet kind of warfare, where the battle is mostly inside your own chest, leave a comment answering this one question. What is the one action you keep feeling called to take but you keep delaying? There is also a mercy you don't see when doors close quickly. Sometimes Allah protects you by shortening the opportunity to return to what will harm you. He makes the path back feel heavier, the conversations feel emptier, the old entertainment tastes like dust. You think you're being deprived, but you're being preserved. You think you're being ignored, but you're being hidden from eyes that would envy you, use you, misread you, or drain you. Not every closed door is rejection. Sometimes it's a shield. The believer learns to interpret silence differently, not as abandonment, but as a space where Allah is teaching you to rely on Him without constant reassurance. That's where tawakkul becomes real, not as a phrase, but as a steady choice to do what you can and accept what you can't control. Divine timing can be the hardest lesson because it offends the part of you that wants immediate results. You pray, you clean up your habits, you start being careful with your words, you stop chasing attention, and still the situation doesn't change. You're doing the right things, yet the relief isn't arriving on your schedule. That's where many people break. They treat patience like a payment that should instantly purchase ease. But sabr is not a transaction. It's a transformation. It turns you into someone who can handle what you asked for without losing your soul. If Allah gave some people their breakthrough too early, they would ruin it with pride or waste it with impulsiveness or let it become an idol. So, the wait is not empty. It is training, it is purification, it is the slow building of a heart that can carry blessing without becoming careless. You may notice that the closer you get to changing for real, the more ordinary your test becomes. It won't always be a dramatic crisis. It might be the daily repetition of choosing prayer on time, choosing honesty when lying is convenient, choosing restraint when anger offers you a quick release. This is where people misunderstand the chosen language. Being chosen does not mean being adored by the world. It often means being corrected more intensely. It means being pulled back from cliffs you were about to walk off with a smile. It means being made uncomfortable in sins that used to feel normal. It means you will outgrow rooms you once begged to enter. And yes, it can feel lonely. But loneliness with Allah is not the same as loneliness with people. One empties you, the other strengthens you. So when that next 10 seconds arrives, don't turn it into panic and don't turn it into drama. Recognize it as a clean moment, a brief opening where you can choose Allah over the noise, sincerity over performance, truth over comfort. Maybe the breakthrough you're waiting for is not an event. Maybe it is the moment you stop skipping what you already know is right. The door closes, not to punish you, but to teach you that life is moving, and your heart cannot keep postponing obedience while expecting peace. If you miss a moment, return without despair. If you catch a moment, thank Allah and keep going quietly. And if you feel alone in this, remember that Allah sees what people don't see, counts what people don't count, and strengthens those who keep choosing Him when nobody claps.